Hi and welcome to my channel. Now, I love action movies, okay? If there's a movie or an action movie that's described as being balls to the wall awesome or the greatest action movie of all time, I will, at some point, see it. I've watched Hard Boiled, Die Hard, all the Die Hard movies. I love action. The thing is, action rarely gets captured well in novels, and I read a lot more than I do, watch movies or anything like that. So when I first got introduced to Matthew Riley, an Australian author who is pretty much now known for writing crazy balls to the wall, action-filled novels, it was a very pleasant surprise. A blurb on most of the book says, "No one writes action like Matthew Riley." And somebody encountering that for the first time would probably be like, oh yeah, well that's kind of, overblown language, the same type anybody would use for, getting a book known. But it's really true. Matthew Riley is the best action writer out there. Someone once said that his books are like Michael Bay movies, but with better plots. And I'd say that's a pretty accurate summation. They are like action movies. I could see any of them easily being put on film and being the most awesome action movie ever made. Apparently that's in the works, but haven't heard anything about it for a while, so I don't care. Anyhow, to the point. The first in Matthew Riley's Shane Schofield novels, Ice Station. So this novel serves, at this point now, more as an introduction to this character of Shane Schofield, call sign Scarecrow. Shane Schofield is a total badass. Mainly, he's a reconnaissance marine who used to be a pilot. He was shot down over some war zone or another, maybe Bosnia, something like that. Anyhow, he was tortured. He had vertical scars cut across his eyes, so he was blinded for a brief period of time, had to have surgery, sees fine. But because of that, he was no longer allowed to pilot. So he decided, well, since I can't pilot anymore, I'm going to be more of a badass like those people who came and got me out of that situation. So he went back, took every class he could in some training thing or another, and leads a force of reconnaissance marines, who are basically described as being the most badass of the badass. His team mainly serves as cannon fodder. There are very few who end up being important. One who does. A couple of them do show up in later novels, because they managed to survive the gigantic bloodbath that is Ice Station. And, but mainly you read for Scarecrow and how he gets out of these crazy situations. In comparison to the other books in the series, Ice Station is not that crazy. And this, I'm saying less crazy in comparison because this is a book that starts off with a team in Antarctica discovering a spacecraft beneath the ice, sending out a distress signal. Then you have an American team sent in, because this is an American station, to try and help out these people, because one of their dive teams was lost on this expedition that discovered these supposed spacecraft, who then have to fight off an invasion by the French to try and claim this spacecraft in an awesome fight sequence, and then have to fight off the SAS right after that because England too wants this spacecraft. And so you get a lot of firefights, and Scarecrow does a bunch of cool stuff, which becomes a staple in later novels. And that's the normal part of the novel. It turns out in the end that this spacecraft isn't actually a spacecraft. It turns out that a defense contractor for the government actually managed to build an aircraft that had conventional invisibility, not just radar invisibility, but could actually turn invisible. And it achieved this with the help of an onboard nuclear reactor. This is a nuclear-powered plane called the Silhouette. And in one of the many high points of the novel, Scarecrow flies it out of an ice cavern as the thing turns upside down, flies it out, engages in an aerial dogfight with an invisible plane, lands it on the deck of an aircraft carrier, and blows it up with its own missile to stop it from falling into the hands of another group in the novel. And that sounds ridiculous, and it really is. But in comparison to the later novels, which I intend on talking about in later videos and won't talk about now, this is tame. I mean, it's just a fantastic action novel. I can't stress that enough. And if you go on to read the series, it establishes a lot of the staples of the series. You have one character, Mother, her call sign is Mother. Her real name is Gina Newman. But she's not called Mother because she's a maternal figure, kind of a softie for a Marine. You wouldn't expect that. But no, her call sign is short for Motherfucker, which is because she's a total badass as well. And it becomes a running gag in the novels that she gets into some situation where most people will die, but she manages to not die. So, and it's always a treat because she is a total badass. Not as badass as Scarecrow, but a badass. You also get an introduction to the Marines' signature weapon. Now, in real life, the Marines do not have a signature weapon like this. But in the world of Scarecrow, it's the Armalite mag hook, which is basically a gun that fires a giant magnet, which you then use to like attach to metal things and swing across gaps or something like that. I don't see it being a very useful weapon. But the mag hook becomes, once again, a running gag in later things where it's used in every conceivable situation where it could apply, and whenever Scarecrow pulls it out, it's about to be a crowning moment of awesome for him. You also get, what else is there in this one? So you get an introduction to all that, and you also get an introduction to the crazy action sequences that Matthew Riley writes. I'm going to say it again, his action sequences are fantastic, but I'll get into those later. Anyhow, if you're looking for a fantastic action novel, you know, not fantastic literature by any means, but the writing equivalent of a great action movie, you really can't do much better than Ice Station unless you read another one of Matthew Riley's novels, which I wouldn't recommend unless you've read Ice Station, because it really is the first one where he establishes himself as a great action writer. This video is going on a bit long now. I've spent 8 minutes or so talking about a novel and haven't really said anything about it. But that's all I really want to say tonight. So, read Ice Station. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. If you have anything you'd like me to talk about instead of blathering on for almost 10 minutes about something you care nothing about, please let me know. So, there's my video for tonight, and enjoy your evening.